To start the Dhamma talk, everyone may consent with 3 times sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse Bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Atti bhikkhave asava dassana pahatabba. Atti bhikkhave asana sangvara pahatabba. Atti bhikkhave asava patisevana pahatabba. Atti bhikkhave asava adivasana pahatabba. Atti bhikkhave asava parivajjana pahatabba. Atti bhikkhave asava vinodana pahatabba. Atti bhikkhave asava bhavana pahatabba. Dear Dhamma friends, we are on the 4th day in our retreat. And as you all agreed, we took the Sabbasawa Sutta, the second discourse you find in the Majjhima Nikaya, in the Sutta Pitaka, as the main topic for the series of Dhamma talks. And we have dealt about 3 talks up to this point. And today I cited yet another part in this particular sutta, and it says, for monks there are taints that one has to abandon by seeing. That is one of the kind of taints. And yet another type we have to abandon by restraining. Yet another type abandoned by using, enduring, avoiding, removing, developing. Likewise, there are 6 types of taints, 6 types of influxes that Buddha has recognized. And in this sutta, he is going to deal one by one. And in the way he explained, it hints us what are the characteristics of this particular taint and how this seeing help remove them or abandon them. And how by restraining we can remove what are the kinds that we have to abandon by restraining. Like it's a kind of a specific way that he is employing to explain the particular type of taint, as well as how one can abandon by understanding the particular kind of taints and the influxes. And that is the way the sutta is developing. It is a fairly long sutta, though coming under the Majjhima Nikaya. That's very important, the way it is presented. The very first one is Atti bhikkhave asava dassana pahatabba. That means, amongst there are some taints that you have to abandon by seeing. And this is a kind of a radical presentation, because this, as we understood, these taints, these influxes are very difficult to understand by its face value. They have their own perversions and work in such a tricky way. So therefore, first and foremost is to make them out, understand them, see them. By seeing itself, you can abandon them. You can get rid of them. For an example, we have germs recognized specifically in the Western medical system. And there are many ways to get rid of the particular kind of germ. If it's a bacteria, you have to apply the particular chemical. If it is a fungus, if it is virus, specifically you have to isolate them and get the particular medicine. But very age-old system is there. Whenever you expose any suspicious source or substrata of germs to the sunlight, just mere by exposing to the sun itself, almost all the pathogenic germs are reducing. Ultimately, saprophytic only will be living and medium will be rather safe to use. It's just by exposure. If you keep it under a shady area, if you keep it under a humid area, the bacteria will grow and the harmful chemicals will come out and prolific propagation will happen. Instead, if you throw it under the sun, definitely their growth will be seriously hindered and rather you can control them. So likewise, pulling that all the material infested with all the kind of germs and putting under the sun is cheapest method and the most assured method. Likewise, in the long samsara, we have been keeping these taints, we have been keeping these undermining tendencies hiding and inside. By meditation, I would specifically mention by inside meditation, you are shedding light or you are pulling it out. In the operation of taking them out, internally, within yourself, you must develop mindfulness. It is penetrating and it is showing things as they are. Externally, you must have noble friends and good teachers where you can share and you can, without hesitation, you can expose yourself and they also will be helpful, just like a mirror, to show you, not in a damaging way, not in a destructive way, your own defilements, your own weaknesses. So therefore, we have to have these, both the tools, internally fully develop mindfulness, that means choiceless awareness, the externally noble friends and someone to share in the spiritual way. Providing that we accept that, we can proceed along the Sutta and in order to take the subject of the particular kind of taints which should be abandoned by seeing, the Buddha come with details. He says, Katamacha bhikkhave asava dasana pahatabha, monks, what are the kind of taints that one has to abandon by seeing? And he never explained, pinpoint, this is what and that is what. He give an explanation in such a way, one has to explore within oneself. That, for that, the mindfulness must be there, the Dhamma knowledge must be there, and instructions also must be there, but one has to observe within in a critical way, so that even the perverted forms cannot be hidden, it has to come out. Ida bhikkhave asutava putujjano, that means the person unlearned and he is not being exposed to the Dhamma, Aryanang adasavi, he has no any sense about noble beings. Arya Dhammi akovido, he is not restraining according to the noble discipline. Arya Dhammi avinito, he is not skillful in the noble discipline. Such a person we call as asutava putujjano, The commentators sometimes says Andha Putujjana. That means a blind commoner, sansaric being, no sense, never heard about any Aryans, and they are disciplined, and they are skillfulness, their ways and means. And Sappurisana Adasavi Sappurisadhamme Akovido Sappurisadhamme Avinito. And he has not seen any noble friends. He is not restraining himself according to the line of noble Dhamma, and he is unskillful in this kind of thing. This kind of category we call as Andhaputujjana. Andhaputujjana means the blindfold people, and the world is, the humanity is full of such people. But the sutta starts with this majority. Such a person, yo manasikaraniye dhamme ajanat, manasikaraniye dhamme nappajanat. They don't know how to contemplate on a meditative object, and what are the bad things to contemplate, what are the good things to contemplate. They have no any sense, because they have never seen, they have never disciplined according to this Aryan Vinaya, or that means noble discipline. And they have not acquaintance with, or friendship, association with the noble people. Therefore they just going by senses. Their mind is completely bounded with the senses. They try to make the seeing and eye happy. They try to hear what is pleasing in the ear, and smelling, tasting, and try to have luxuries, and think they are pet ideas. They try to satisfy the senses. They expect the beautiful sceneries, and good music, and good smells, good tastes, and luxuries, and all the other facilities, and pet ideas, what they think satisfying their mind, and therefore they don't know what are the beneficial and what are not beneficial. They are in the pleasure-seeking game. So these are the kind we call Andhaputujjana. They do not know, they have no any contemplative life, they are just satisfying their senses. And these people, whenever they are noting, whenever they are associating the unsuitable things, more and more the desire arises, more and more the hatred arises, more and more the ignorance can arise. Because they just go by the single criterion of pleasure-seeking game. And therefore, yo manaskarniye dhamme ajananto, amanaskarniye dhamme appajanato, ye dhamme na manasikarniya, te dhamme te manasikaroti. Without discriminating, this is good, this is bad, this is beneficial, this is not beneficial, they just keep on striving through this pleasure-seeking game, and they keep on, sometimes they associate more and more harmful thing, and not associating what is the beneficial. That is what the most prominent example in the society is the addictions. These people go for different kinds of addictions, and definitely they know these addictions are ultimately going beyond their control, but even then they keep on associating them, just like grasshoppers and the moths jumping into the open fire flame. So they find it is very glowing and warm, and with their whole might and effort they jump into the fire, and ultimately they burn their legs, limbs and the wings. Even with the remaining legs and the wings, they again and again jump into the same fire. Exactly the majority of people, they keep on addicting themselves to many things. I think for the last 20-30 years, it was a very prominent thing, specifically in the so-called developed societies. I mean, wherever you can see addictions, but majority of them you can find in the capital cities in the so-called developed countries. And when I was in USA in the last time, I saw there are three kind of philosophies or theories they have presented. These addictions are due to the agenda of the higher politicians. They are trapping more and more innocent people and promoting them in a perverted way through the media and through the medical science, through the lawsuits, through the banks and through the pharmaceutical industry, and all the kind of thing keep on promoting what is harmful for the people, what is harmful to the humanity. And it made billions of money. So in a sense it is, these books also very popular. You can buy them and you can read them and you can see the present day agenda, what you call the civilization. It is not civilized, it is barbaric. But the Buddha, he never attribute that kind of bad things to a political body or any kind of a particular set of people or any mafia organizations, but the Buddha says this is the nature of defilements. Those who have no acquaintance with the noble people, they are not disciplined themselves according to the noble Dhamma, and they are not skillful in it. Definitely they fall prey to this kind of weaknesses, and sometimes we personify them as bodies, as some political or higher rankers. They are planning agenda. There may be, but we Buddhists, we have to not to find a target body and create hate. We have to understand this is what we call the defilements. And likewise many theories are there presently, because society is so badly going against the morality, going against the health of the individuals, and it is uncontrollable, unavoidable. So that is why many come out with different theories. So whatever may be, it indicates how dangerous it is, society at large as well as individuals are concerned. So they knowingly or unknowingly keep on doing the same wrong thing, and day by day the situation becomes worst. And that is how that is what the danger of not associating the noble people, not associating the noble principles, not disciplining according to them, not associating the benevolent people, good people, and they are not associating Dhamma. So therefore parents, if they wish to wish well-being of their children or your dear and near one, so you have to expose them to all that kind of noble people and benevolent people, so that association will give some kind of an alternative option for the youngsters and the younger generation. Otherwise, without exposing them to this kind of noble people and the cultured people, if you try to sell your properties and send them for PhDs and double PhDs, ultimately you have to have insurance, because your children will kill you. That is the simple cycle now. Giving more and more education, what the agenda is suggesting, it is completely corrupting their minds. Unless otherwise it is balanced with this noble Dhamma. And therefore they always think something imbalance, something against the social norms, something against their mental and physical health, something against the society. So that is what ye manasikarniye dhamme appajananto, what should be contemplated, they should not know. Amanasakarniya dhamme appajanantu. They don't know what are the bad things. If you keep on thinking, it will create that kind of perversion. They do not know. Without knowing that, they rather attracted to this malevolent kind of thinking, and they keep away from the benevolent kind of thinking. So therefore, they are in a rut. They are in an addiction. And then the Buddha asks, developing this theory, what are the Dhamma, or what are the phenomena or principle that should be contemplated, and what are the things one should not contemplate? The Buddha says, Yassa bhikkave manasikaroto anupanna cheva kamasava uppajjanti, uppanna cheva kamasava pavaddanti. Whatever the thing when you are contemplating, unarisen desire arises, already arisen desire accelerate, increases. Whenever you are thinking, if there is unarisen hatred arises, or already arisen hatred develops, or whatever thing you are contemplating, unarisen ignorance arises, and already arisen ignorance improves. That is what the Buddha says, that you should not contemplate. So therefore, the criterion is the desire, hatred, and the ignorance. So when and where you are encountering with seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting and thinking, that's underlying tendencies or influxes or taints. So if you are not very careful, if you are not very contemplative, or simply we can say if you are not mindful or vigilant, these taints, these influxes and these underlying tendencies are growing behind the screen. Even if you happen to see them, you consider them as your friendly, you are benevolent and something good, because their face value appear to be good. But if you associate the noble friends and the benevolent people, they will teach you, they will hint you, even though they appear like friendly, at last they are taxing you, undermining you, your health, and as well as the morality at the society at large. So, if we are to take an example of seeing, that is what often the Buddha take as an example in teaching and explaining this kind of thing. Whenever we see something, we bound to see it again and again if it is attractive, or if it is really distracting. That means if it is desirable or hateful, more and more desirable thing you see again and again, you pay even for that, and you keep it with you and hug them and put into your cupboard and lock. Equally, if it is something so hateful, yet another attraction is there, you to see it again. If something appears no hate, not developing hatred, not developing any kind of desire, then you ignore them. Even if you see them, it won't go to your memory. Therefore, we feel if we are rich, if we have our human rights, we have our rights to see what we like. We have our rights to see what we dislike. Of course, no one challenges it. But as a meditator, as a well-instructed person, as and when you see, at least for a limited time in your day's activities, if you observe what make you to see one thing again and again, either it is mixed, connected with the desire or hatred, otherwise you won't see. So therefore, very, very difficult for someone to restrain oneself in seeing, because it is so swift. won't give any chance for you to see the mechanism. You are already caught up. The second thing is hearing. In the hearing also, whatever you listen again and again is something titillating you. Either your desire or your hatred. If it is neutral thing, you feel it's boring. You feel it is monotonous. You feel it is sleepy. You feel it is wastage of time. Because it is no titillation. It is not creating any defilements on Dhamma ground. The smell, the taste. So therefore, being these seeing, hearing, smelling and taste very swift, Buddha has selected only the touch, tactile sensation or touch for the beginner to start with. But even then, you have to select a neutral object like touch of the breath in the in and out air, in breath and out breath, or rising and falling of the abdomen, or while walking in the left and the right. So people find very difficult to keep on observing the in-breath and out-breath. Very difficult and boring to observe right leg and the left leg. And to do things slowly, listen to one's own sound, and contemplative, it appears like very pale, very undramatic and boring. That's why you find very little people are ready to take up this meditation retreat. They have their own reason, because they are always going behind the dramatic things, going behind the highly titillating, desirable thing or undesirable thing. So therefore they go for action-packed films. Large screen, action-packed. They go a number of times to see, because it is full of actions. And wherever that kind of thing happens, people gather together. They say that how cruel people are. The biggest gathering in the world happens when the murderer of King George V, killed by cutting his neck by a slow guillotine blade. There's so much of people. It happened in the open air and announced, and when the killing happens, the capital sentence is given, beheading happens, so much of people gathered to see, because it is so dramatic. Even if it is barbaric, if it is a wrong thing, to killing another person by another person is something unhuman, and these are the things people gather. When someone asks to observe the in-breath and out-breath, they will say, what is this? This is the wastage of time. We have so much of things to see. So therefore, you understand how uninstructed mind is pulled towards this creation of defilements. They don't know what is to be contemplative and what is not to be contemplative. So the Buddha, by giving the theory knowledge and letting the people to rationalize what the Buddha says, and those who accept that theory and rational knowledge will come and take part in the meditation. So they are being asked to see the neutral object like in-breath and out-breath. So even after you selected the in-breath and out-breath as your primary object, or rising and falling of the primary object, or left leg and the right leg as the primary object in the walking meditation, there's a trip. At the beginning, the rising and falling appear somewhat prominent. There your mind gets some kind of attraction, the magnetic thing you feel easy to keep the touch with the in-breath and out-breath as far as it is gross. So therefore, if you are observing the breath while running, then it is easy, because breath is very gross, coming up and going down. But the Buddha prescribed, don't walk, sit and start with normal in-breath and out-breath. What happens is, if the mind becomes introvert, the breathing becomes slower, subtler, calm. So then what happens, within these amplitudes of the high gross in-breath to the gross out-breath, slowly, it calms down, come to the subtle breathing. When the subtle breathing happens, even for the yogi, the disinterest sets in, the boredom sets in, the monotony sets in, the fearfulness sets in, uncertainty sets in, the sleepiness sets in, sloth and torpor comes, and doubt arises, am I progressing or something going wrong? Because our mind is always expecting kind of a dramatic thing. But the Buddha has given a very nice exercise. At the beginning it is gross. You can discreetly say, this is in-breath and this is out-breath. But when it becomes slowly, calm down, you find very difficult to trace the breath. So often mind come out and say, there is no breath. So you tend to either do forced breathing, or tend to open your eyes, or entertain doubts. If not that, mind fall into sleep. So this is the way, whenever the mind is going from tainted or full of influxes to the purity, it appear like insecurity. It appear like boring. It appear like monotonous. It appear like doubtful. It appear like lost. Because these taints, these influxes, these undermining tendencies are giving the nutriment for your ego, nutriment for yourself, nutriment for your center. To call that I am a male, I am a female, I am so and so and blah blah, everything coming out of these influxes. So whenever these influxes thin down, become subtler and subtler, you feel like losing your image, losing your ego, and you lose your memory, you lose your interest, you lose your, ultimately you end up with the boredom. So if you are not well instructed, soon you will change the teacher, telling that teacher is no good. You will change the meditation method, telling it is leading to bewilderment, knowing to unknowing, so therefore you change. Or otherwise you will say this meditation, the technique is wrong, this teacher is wrong, this method is wrong, and I eat something wrong, the climate is wrong, the government is wrong, everything wrong because something happening. That is going against the grain. You have been so accustomed in the society, in the samsara, in the samsaric journey, to have something dramatic to dramatic. But the Buddha, knowing that, he gives something dramatic at the beginning and let it calm down. When it's calmed down, this is the reduction of influxes. This is the reduction of the taints. This is reduction of some, or thinning down of the undermining tendencies. So when that happens, our ego gets agitated, it come out and propose so many of alternatives, so that you will break the trend and go back to the usual grossness. That is why you feel like breathing fast or open your eyes. Never continue with this subtlety. So you have to understand how much you must be prepared if you are to explore this golden opportunity. I would put it in this way. As far as you are using the rational knowledge, you are at lost. As far as you observe and obedient to the instructions, even though it is boring, even though it is monotonous, even though you feel like you are losing your ego, there's a going against the grain is happening. Something radical happening. Something electric happening. Something immediate thing is happening. So that is the way the Buddha says, the getting rid of this kind of defilements just by observation. To that observation, 1 or 2 times you must have fallen into the trap, whereby you feel bored and you feel like opening the eyes and get up and go, all the kind of thing. And if you are lucky enough to report exactly what happened to a experienced teacher, he or she will instruct you. This is a good sign, even though you read it as bad, boring and going against the grain like. It's a good sign. This is the place you have to have the real faith on the Buddha, because Buddha has mapped the trip in the correct way, but you are going to rationalize, you are going to measure it with your rational knowledge. That is the way you should not contemplate. What is the way you should contemplate is, as far as you are observing the same object, object appear, object become unattractive, slowly. And it is called that we are using bleaching powder. When you use the bleaching powder, the patterns and the decorations of the clothes will be faded off. So when you are applying the mindfulness also, this fading off going to takes place. For the bleaching powder, we call Viranjana Kudu. Viranjana means, before applying it was very attractive, once applied, it become pale. So Virajyati is the one phenomena the Buddha says, whenever the mind is really contemplative on the contemplative subjects and not contemplating on the not contemplating subject, then it goes from the gross to the subtlety, ego to the lack of ego situation, and boredom sets in, monotony sets in. And then, as I tried to explain yesterday, kind of irritation going to set in. You feel uncomfortable. And you try to find fault with something external. And your rational mind come and support you. And when you are going to gossip with other non-meditators, they will also come out with 1,001 explanation, and you may feel them like real friends. But instead, what the Buddha says is, discuss and talk only with the teacher and keep on meditating. Even you are failure in 1 or 2 days, if you go prepared, you will read the message in the healthy way, then you develop the energy to cut through. When you go further and further, each and every breath leading to the subtlety, when you go to the subtlety, you will develop kind of a balance. You will come up to a kind of a consciousness completely cut off from the senses. Even of course, once the eyes are closed, the visual objects may come. You feel they are completely in the background, but you are not worried. And a lot of sounds in the surroundings are there. You feel you are just like in a bunker. And sounds are not addressing you. The smelling, tasting, not applicable. Even the thought happens, they are in the background, but you can be with the breath, but you don't know. Maybe you are inside the breath, penetrated in the breath, and there is no visible, tangible object as such, but the mind is in a full balance, together with the mindfulness and the concentration. If you are a wise person, if you are not entertaining doubts, if you are not opening your eyes, if you are not getting up and go, this is called kind of an inner space or whole body experience. To appreciate it, you must have well instructed, otherwise you develop uncertainties, you develop fearfulness, you develop kind of entertaining doubts. So this is the very important place, important junction, where the teacher has his or her responsibility to support the meditator, help him and keep him on the track without letting the meditator to rationalize or fork fingers into this natural development. Let it happen again and again and again. Then you may demarcate these two episodes, the early part is there is a meditator, the object is there, the noting mind is necessary, the energy is necessary. You feel here and there distractions on the sounds, pains and thoughts and sometimes a little bit of hindrances. But when you reach this inner space, there is no meditator, there's nothing doing meditation, everything happening, and you are in a rather balance. So when that happens, the pains and the influxes are fairly controlled. And the object, in-breath, appear equally with the out-breath. If you are with the rising and falling, rising phenomena appear just like falling phenomena. Both you may experience as just a vibration, or just a lightness, or just heaviness, or just whatever may be elementary characteristics. And you are to continue and season this as much as possible, so much so you are not giving any nutriment for the influxes, nutriment for the taints, nutriment for the undermining tendencies. So there you have to train yourself, sit little longer, do more walking meditation, and see where the meditation from doing to happening takes place. From where that your will, your volition cut off and everything going to happen takes place. There is a clear-cut threshold. And you must master yourself from where the meditation, doing meditation to happening meditation takes place. From where onward the autopiloting going to take place, so that you must monitor daily in each successful sitting. And then onward, you are in a autopiloting, everything happening. You must not contribute anything or fork your fingers into this flow and let it happen, let it take place without involvement of the self. That I specifically say, without involvement of volition, without involvement of the will, without involvement of the intention. So far you had an intention, you had the will, you had the volition, but then onward you can clearly see, without volition, without intention, without will, the phenomena is full balance. And it is, you feel the contentment, you feel the satisfaction, you feel the saturation if you are well instructed. And if you do not feel any satisfaction, if you do not feel any saturation, this is not due to purely your mistake, it's partly the mistake of your teacher. 50-50%. That it is the duty of the teacher to pump him with the proper instructions, proper information from the teaching of the Buddha. If the meditation is good, results are so obvious. Matter is how to interpret it. I think most of you all have experienced it, but doubtful whether you have interpreted it in the proper way. That is why the Buddha says, what you should contemplate, you should contemplate. What you should not contemplate, you should not contemplate. This is very discreet. What you should not contemplate is, whenever the meditation becomes run by itself, autopiloting, you must withdraw as much as possible intentions, as much as possible volitions, will. You just let it go. Whenever mind is challenged with hindrances or any gross thing, then you have to again employ the noting mind and isolation of your primary object, close association with the primary object, plunging into the primary object. You have to do. So you must know where to note and where not to note. Where to have the intention and where to give up the intention. So it is you learn only by trial and error. Then you will be a good manager if you are running an office. You will be a good housewife or householder if you know what is your responsibility and what are the other things you have to dedicate the second in line. But if you do not know the primary thing and secondary thing, everything you fork fingers, you never understand the division of labor, you never understand the democratic decision making, you never make the system visible and transparent. This is a very good thing even for students, even for the management, even for mathematics, even for artists, even for creative thinking. This is a very interesting and important thing, and it has a very big value in the secular world. But this is not the aim of the Buddha. Buddha is, according to the teaching of these are byproducts. If you know how to drive, how to start the meditation, and then let the mind take the helm, and after that, let it run the show. But you are fully vigilant, fully mindful, and you know up to that point, I manipulated, or I would say I rather steered. I drive, and then onward I put that into the autopiloting. And then onward you can see, as far as there is no intention, as far as there is no volition, things are happening in a very nice balance. And you are the first person to entertain it and taste it, and there you can see no liking, no disliking, no boundaries, things are happening in such a balance. This, the Buddha says, Passambayang kaya sankarang asasisami iti sikkati. This balance happened due to the well-controlled materiality. Still you have not gone to the mental sphere. And now you are becoming qualified to go into the mental sphere. Slowly, once you season this, you will understand. Beyond that point, often what you see is coming and going feelings and perceptions. Many feelings are there without labels. Many perceptions are there without labels. If you keep them as such without adding labels, you can understand this is what happened in the half dreams. This is what happened in the half sleeps. Everything is mental. You can interpret either way. So the best thing is not to interpret it. Let the feelings and the perceptions to play, but appear like beyond control. But with full confidence, if you keep the vigilance, if you keep the mindfulness, they also, the mental part also, gradually ceases to exist. And there are yet another layer of taints, another layer of influxes going to restrain. Undermining tendency is also going to restrain as far as you are not forking the fingers. So likewise there are a number of cycles, slowly, from the active to inactive, gross to the subtlety, ego to non-ego, it is slowly going in. Just like you are peeling off an onion, the outermost layers are very thick and colorful. When you go to the inner, they are very thin, very pale, and ultimately once you leave everything, you will find no pith. There's no essence. Everything is just sheets. So like one after the other, most difficulty is the first one. Because it is very eventful. You have so much of sensation for that, interpretation for that, and mind is immature. Your mindfulness is not steadfast. Your concentration is very shaky. So when you keep on removing one by one, you will understand, you develop your own techniques, your own ways and means to cut through. When it is happening, this is rather happens in closed eyes, cross-legged sitting posture. Easily you can get up and go to the walking meditation. You are not rushing to go anywhere. There is no time frame. So you just walk in your slow pace, and there, even though eyes are open, even your ears are active, intentions are there to lift the left leg and lift the right leg, but even then with little bit of intention, you can fairly seek the balance. Not almost like sitting, but after few sessions, you can understand the mind will develop the artful ways to find the balance even in the walking meditation. And again you can come and sit. Definitely you are going to have a better sitting than the early one. And again when you go to the walking, continuously walking, sitting, like each and everything slowly come under control. And then when you go home, or when you do the day-to-day activities, you can see the serenity. Over there also, if you are to experience this kind of serenity, 3 things you must understand. One thing is, you must do things in a little slow manner. And that you can do only when you are doing your private jobs, not the socialized one. So whenever you have private things, determine to do little slowly. And make a determination, I will do it mindfully. And the third and the most important thing is, listen to your own sounds. When you are listening to your own sounds, the internalization happens very fast. And you can understand, if you are not mindful, if you are not doing slowly, how much rattling noise you add to the society. You add to the environment. You being so noisy, how can you expect others to be silent, even while you are meditating? So if you are careful about to listen to your own sounds, you will never complain second person when they are making noise. You will rather understand why he is making or she is making noise, because they are not bounded by mindfulness. They are not doing things slowly. They are not listening to their own sounds. So it is a very good example for us. If the mind is not restrained, how the beings are. So you being restrained, you have no rights to lose your temper. You have no rights to find fault with others. You have the absorbing capacity, so you will be more and more silent, and your sermon will be a silent sermon rather than talking 1,000 words. Your slow, mindful and silent work will be a very good sermon to this, the clumsy world. And you also will learn the art in these vicissitudes of the world. How can I maintain the balance? So then the walking, sitting and day-to-day activities come into kind of a harmony. Simple theme will be, you will reduce the amount of volitions you are making. You will reduce the amount of intentions you are making. You will reduce the amount of will you are going to make. You will try to fit into the society, fit into the environment, rather than interpreting terms to the others or to the external world. And then you feel like you become no one. So those who are egoistic, you are in the pleasure-seeking game, they are always thinking about one-upmanship, find very difficult to master this art. This is the art of noble ones. This is the art of the learned, the spiritual one. So they never make any fuss. They never interpret terms to the others. Instead, they will find how to fit into the setup, because they know setup is changing ever. You can't change the world. And earlier, I think even for the scientific creativity and invention, everything, the will was a very important thing. People had the will to do something. But it was a kind of a contradiction in the world where the Creator God is believing. Because Creator God is the will, you have no will. He is omniscient, omnipotent and completely controlling you. You are just a creature. He is the Creator. But among the saints, the Saint Aquinas, when he was exploring into that, he has found each and individual have a fair amount of will. It is not a challenge to the Creator God. So therefore he presented this idea to the Catholic Church and told, there is a will for individual level, fair share, and therefore there is a meaning for education. So that the Catholic Church accepted him as the saint and accepted the concept of teaching. That is how the Western teaching or universities and academic places came into being, and similarly, as I read in the books, Saint Aquinas was accepted as a very big contributor. But 200 years ago, in the Germany, one person called that Arthur Schopenhauer, he went into and he told, yes, the will is correct. And the Saint Aquinas is correct. Each and everyone has a will, but the simple problem is each and every will is evil. Each and every will is ill will. So everyone branded this Arthur Schopenhauer as the nihilist. But he kept on talking on philosophical ground. You have a will, whatever the will you are employing is going against you. And then Friedrich Nietzsche developed that theory backed by the Buddhist principles. Then he told, more and more you will be willful, more and more you will be intentional, more and more you will be volitional. You are violating this smooth flow. This is very, very clear when the mind and the body calm, breath is calm, when the flow becomes smooth, whatever the intention, whatever the volition, whatever the will you are going to employ, you are destroying your mindfulness, you are destroying your concentration, and your meditation will be upset. Pains are going to set in. Or influxes. The floodgates will be open. And your ego happily and proudly come and take the upper hand. So there you must know the art of letting go. But you have to do it in the proper time. Not at the beginning of the sitting. At the beginning you have to have the will. You have to employ the noting mind. You have to employ this, getting rid of Nissaranas and let the mind to be face to face with the primary object. Once the mind and the primary objects harmonize, then you feel a different balance, the consciousness rather free of senses, and then it starts the autopiloting flight. And there you must try to slowly withdraw, vigilantly and diligently, and see there is no influxes. As far as no influxes, the contentment is thick, good. The satisfaction, the saturation is unchallenged. So there you have to be a neutral observer, an alien observer. You have to be choicelessly aware. Don't arrive at any decision. Your suspended attention must be full-fledged employed. So this is how you develop the skillfulness to get rid of the kind of stains that should be abandoned by just observing, doing nothing. It is not the whole explanation of the game. It is a part and parcel, and it's the most foremost part, and the weakest kind of stains will be tackled, will be restrained. And the Buddha says, first and foremost along this weakest is the egocentric idea, that is Sakkaya Ditthi. Taking this body as me, everything claiming it is me, it is mine, it is my soul. So slowly you withdraw, and towards the latter part, sometimes the Buddha says, when such situation happen, everything going to happen, you have a whole body experience, you feel inner space, there even the intention happens, even the volition happen, you rather should disclaim them. These intentions are not me, not my soul. Then you can come back home. Again and again coming back home. When it is happening in the early part, even without such a application, it is not me, not mine, not soul, that takes place because the early parts of these stains are very weak. Just nearby observation, the sakkaya ditthi will be dropped off. The second one is the rituals and all the kind of thing we consider in faith, thinking these leads to Nibbana or these leads to the final liberation. No. The Buddha says, the Silabbata Paramasa, what is necessary, bare minimum for your meditation, you will understand through your experience, not through the faith. You must not disturb others, you must not harm others, must be your principle. That is what we call restraint. Not to kill, not to steal, not to have sexual misconduct, verbal restraint, that's all. Not to show off, not to impose upon others. These things are asking for trouble. So therefore, what is the bare minimum or necessity, pragmatically necessary restraint, physical verbal restraint, you will redefine for yourself. And the vicikiccha, the entertaining doubts, you will understand is the worst case. So therefore, whenever mind comes to the peace, whenever mind comes to the inner space, whenever mind comes to the freedom from the senses, the entertaining doubts can destroy everything. So for you have to be careful. So when these three are being tackled, completely tackled, we call that particular person is Sotapanna or reaching the first path and fruition. But along on the way to the path itself, refinements happen. Such a person working along the path also being known as the Arya or noble. That is how the 8 noble people come into being. Person threading on the path successfully also recognized as a noble person. Or noble as well as Sapursa. Sapursa means that understand his or her benefits. So meditators, those who really tackle the undermining tendencies, are keen in understanding the desire, the hatred arising as the shadows are really in the inside meditation. They must understand, for them, they are all past. Trial and error is the teacher. There is no other way. The trial and error is the method. Don't throw away your mistakes. Everything going to teach you. So therefore, early meditation, even though it appears like a very unsuccessful, wasteful thing, that will give a golden input for your future meditation. So when you are relating to the meditation teacher, you must really give what is happening exactly rather than going to add your interpretations. Even in the meditation, let the thing happen in its own accord, and then only you can understand it is going against the grain. Whenever your rational mind going to take upper hand, whenever your deductive knowledge is going to happen, that means you are infiltrating and you are infesting with the already available things. So therefore, each and every moment, let it be fresh. Be vigilant, be diligent, take the chance and go through, and it must be more and more nearing to your primary object. Whatever the secondary thing like lightness, light perception, hardness, stiffness, tension, movements, they are nothing to follow, they are byproducts. They will change their facets, they will change take place evolution. You must always try to refer back to your primary object, even if it is subtle. So then you understand day by day, you are going from this unknown to the known to the unknown, grows to the subtlety, and little by little, the penetrating going to take place. So since we have taken fairly long time, I would like to stop at that moment, so at that level. I will take time tomorrow also to go a little further in these points and make room and access to the other 6 kind of things. Also, I hope these informations are helpful and encouraging for you to continue. May it be so. Wishing that, I would like to thank you for listening. Thank you very much for listening. Any comments?
Question. You talked about non-suppliers, and I didn't exactly understand what the idea was that you introduced that was the Western.
I'll give the mic. I can get your question. Yeah, do it.
When you talk about non-suppliers and the teaching that he introduced that influenced Western thought, I didn't exactly.
The will of the person.
Will of the person, and what did he teach about the will of the person?
Earlier everything attributed to the Creator God, individual have no self, no will. Therefore you are just surrendered, accept what is happening. That was the pure belief, pure devotion it was. But that one has challenged it. It told no, individual also have a will. So if you teach them, they will be good for the person. So that is how we got the space to come out in the proposal, the teaching, systematic teaching in the classrooms. So then once teaching system starts. But even then after the teaching, number of years they found, there's no much of a big changes to the spirituality. So then after Shofanava analyzed it and says, yes, will is there, individual has its own will, but it is not all the time benevolent, so mostly ill will. Mostly people hurting themselves with their own will. And that is how Shofanava being branded as a nihilist. But the Nietzsche took the helm, took the sword and cracked the fellow, and he told, yes, that is the truth. You buggers are, you fellows are nihilists, you fellows are ill will. And all the kind of, he showed the people, whatever you do thinking it is beneficial, ultimately turn against you. But he was not considered as a very successful, but his fighting nowadays people are wondering how much the Buddhist influence to the Atha Shofanava and the Nietzsche. And that is why the Buddha says the Vanchanika Dhamma, the perversions. Without knowing the perversion, whatever you do, you can't predict your results. It is very difficult to justify unless otherwise you know the perversions. So perversions appear like friendly, face value is good, but end result ultimately you are falling into the more and more chaotic situation. So Atha Shofanava presented him with a single point of will of the person. We have less than 1 hour for walking meditation, and then we will meet at 11:15 for the lunch. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.